Hey, sorry for the delay. We're live the last. Here to talk about why grief is a belief and why a belief can be changed. Belief is not a law, it's not a rule, it's just a belief. So, in preparation for this, I was talking to my husband on the other side who had a lot to say about grief in the afterlife. And I'll be sharing what he said to me with all of you. Um, but I want you to hang on to the end of this live because we're going to talk about what we believe is really the only cure for grief. And we'll talk about that later. But in the meantime, let's just explore what is grief anyway? Okay, what is it? As we said, it's a belief. And so we need to unpack that. We need to understand what our feelings, our emotions really are. Because you and everyone else tend to think that feelings are true, like are just coming from truth, right? Like we feel what we feel because whatever we're upset about, happy about, angry about, whatever, it's the reality, it's the truth. But really, your emotions, your feelings are the result of a belief you're choosing to have. And we say choosing because, again, you can choose to believe differently. You really can. You can choose to believe something else. In the case of grief, you're believing that someone who's dropped their physical body is physically no longer here, that they're dead and gone, lost to you, right? We talk about death as being a loss, like we've lost the person. But that's a belief you're choosing because that's the mass consensus belief, obviously, that death is the end. But for some of us who believe otherwise, who understand, believe, and some of us know that there is an afterlife, that the soul does survive death, that we can stay in touch, that we can have not only messages on occasion, but in some cases, contact constantly. We have a different belief. And so, for those of us who fully believe that, and it's a journey to accepting, really owning that belief, right? Really knowing that it's a journey. But when you really know that, you don't have grief anymore. And so, I want to correct this assumption some people made that I was saying not to grieve. If anything, it's quite the opposite. I tell our clients and students all the time, you need to grieve, you need to process. And process simply means to feel. You need to feel what you're feeling. You need to let it move through you. What we don't want is to get stuck on a particular emotion like grief and stay there for decades. I know people who have been grieving for 30 years. And really, they're grieving because they haven't shifted from that belief that their loved one is gone and lost to them, and they still are ruminating over that belief, right? They're just believing that they cannot ever see their loved one until maybe they might believe in the afterlife. Maybe they don't believe in the afterlife, but they might believe, okay, I won't see them again till I die. And that's the reality they're going to create. That's the only reality they can create because your beliefs are what generate and create your experience. If you at least believe it's possible to connect with someone on the other side, then you open the door to that. But if you don't believe that to begin with, you're basically shutting the door. They don't even have a chance to come through if your belief is that fixed. Now, that said, I know of people who have spontaneous contact in spite of them not believing in the afterlife because their loved one on the other side is so strong psychically that they could break down the wall of that person's limited belief about it. But not every spirit can do that. In fact, many of them need help to project their consciousness through the veil. They're not all equipped to break down that wall, like for this one woman whose husband was so intent on letting her know that he was here, that even though she was a devout Christian who didn't believe in the afterlife, he was there, undeniable, unmistakable, not only there, but making physical contact with her, physical, like intimate contact. That is possible for some of them, but not for all of them. All right. So that's why I say belief is what it's about. And grief is just a belief you're choosing to have. Now, you'll argue, well, but that's what everybody believes. Right. And you're agreeing with the general consensus. The consensus belief is that death is the end, but you're choosing to agree with it. And some of us are choosing not to agree with it. We're choosing a different belief, we're choosing a different assumption. And therefore, we are creating a new experience. So, by all means, grieve, feel what you feel. You have to get it out there. You have to let go of your regret, your resentment, if you're carrying any resentment toward your loved one. Any emotion that you haven't processed, you need to let it move through you. But only if you believe this really is the end is grief going to stay. And people who say, well, we just have to get over it. We just have to accept that they're gone. To me, that's not healing grief. That's just kind of resigning to their absence, which doesn't have to be real, doesn't have to be true. And I don't know if that really heals grief. You just kind of adjust to it, right? You don't really heal it, like release it. You just adjust and say, well, this is how my life is because they're gone now. And you just get used to it. That's not a healing. Adjustment to me is not a healing. Adjustment is adjustment. Like what Spirit's showing me is like you have having an amputation, right? If you had to amputate your arm because you had gangrene, you could say you healed it in a sense, but you just adjusted to it being gone. But you could still lament the fact that you lost your arm. You could still be really resentful of the fact that you don't have that arm and still bemoan it and still be upset about it. So that you're not really healed of it. And you're certainly not happy about it. You just got over it. You just got used to it. Like, okay, this is my life. I don't have my arm. Just like, this is my life. My husband's dead. And you get on with it. But you're not really at peace, not truly. And you're certainly not happy about it, are you? I don't think you're going to celebrate it. And we're not ever suggesting that, even when we communicate with someone across the veil, that we're really happy that they're dead. Although I've heard my husband say, Pam, isn't it better that I'm dead? Because he can do so much more for me on the other side. But like anyone, I'd rather him be here in a body. But I am happy in the new relationship that we have through the veil. I am happy. I mean, do I look like a grieving person? Do I look like a sad person? I mean, I don't think so. But I'll let you be the judge. But anybody who knows me, who's been a friend of mine for a long time, and my family for sure, they say, you look happier and younger than you ever looked, and I'll be 72 on Monday. So this is the face of grief when you're connected to someone on the other side. So when we talk about grief being a belief, again, I'm not trying to dismiss your grief. I'm not trying to minimize your suffering. I'm just trying to help you pivot a little bit in your understanding of it, if you can, if you're ready for it, okay? But it's not about celebrating grief. It's not about welcoming it. It's about moving beyond it to reunion through the veil, because we can do that. We can actually have the grief catapult us into an awakening of sorts, to connecting with those we love on the other side. And we're always going to miss them physically, because you and I are in physical bodies. And so, of course, we're going to wish they were here to, walk along the beach with us, or sit next to us, in the theater sharing popcorn, if that's what you used to do, and all of that. Of course, you're going to miss it. Of course, it's not the same, but it doesn't mean you can't have a deep connection and you can't communicate and you can't feel their presence with you. There are other people having the experiences that I have. Some of them are having even more amazing experiences. But before we go any further, I want to share Alan's words because, of course, he's nudging me, going, "Are you going to read what I gave you? You're going to read what I've told you this morning?" And I promised him I would, so I'm going to do that. All right? Because I asked him, "Is there grief in the spirit world? Is there grief?" Some mediums will tell you, yes, there is. Some mediums will tell you, no, there isn't. You'll get all kinds of answers, and I'm not saying anyone's wrong or right. I'm just going to share what Alan told me. That's all. Okay. So I'm just going to share what he said. So this is Alan's words. Because we can be with you whenever we want to, we don't experience the level of grief that you experience. Yes, some spirits may at first feel grief at being ripped away from the arms of those they love if they were overly attached or distorted in some way. And by the way, he's not saying this is at all negative. He's just saying some spirits are just more attached to the physical, which is understandable. But at the same time, we here in the spirit world, we are more immersed in love than when we're in a body. So any pain that we feel is just momentary. Why would I miss you, Pam, when you are here with me and I'm in there with you? We never leave heaven. We only dream we have. Besides, I am always with you there in the physical. And since I am multidimensional, I can be with a million people and still remain with you there. We have always been together in the spirit world, and we always will be. The greater part of us remains in the afterlife. We remain spiritually focused. And I want to emphasize, he's saying to emphasize that to you because few people really understand this, that you and I, all of us, are actually spirit beings dreaming this reality into being. We are projecting it. Okay. You and I are on the other side. That's our true home, now and forever. So we are really dreaming this experience collectively and individually, right? You need to sit with that one and let it sink in. Hearing our words doesn't mean you get it. You might need to watch this video and all of the rest of ours many times before it really anchors into your brain and you go, oh, now I get it. Okay, because your physical mind is going to reject this because it's convinced you that this is real. It needs to convince you this is real, or you're not going to take this reality seriously. You're just going to say, oh, this is a dream, and I don't pay attention to it. And you came here to be physically focused while also being non-physically focused. So we're here to teach you how to live between the two worlds. That's what ascension is really about, to be here and yet be also this expanded being. Okay, and you can have it all in a way that the other side cannot, because they can't be in a physical body and yet be spiritually there. Okay, you and I can actually do that. We'll have to talk about that another time. All right. So again, to reiterate, we are spirit beings who can project our consciousness into other worlds and dimensions, such as the Earth plane. This is just one of many places, dimensions, planets, etc., that you and I are right now existing in. But again, for a lot of you, that's a big idea that your brain is like reeling from, like, what? What is she talking about? The earth realm is one of the few realms where you and I must forget who we are in order to have a new experience that would be impossible for us to have in the afterlife, where love is the only reality, right? So hold that thought. In the other side, there's only love, there's only oneness, right? That's the definition of the heaven, of the afterlife, of the other side. So how can you have an experience of contrast, of the opposite, unless you go somewhere where you forget that you're part of the oneness, so that then you can create the opposite of love, create experiences where you can experience the lack of love. You can't have that experience on the other side, right? So here we forget our divinity and our power, and we must reclaim it in order to be set free. We have to do this consciously, deliberately. Souls project themselves into the earth plane to experience what love is not. Here, the absence and denial of love offers a stark contrast that helps the soul learn the full depth of what love is. For sometimes, the best way to master something is to experience its opposite. Now, I want you to never worry about me. I can feel grief, but it is your grief that I feel. Whatever grief I might ever feel is minimal by comparison. All souls are highly empathic, both in a body and out of the body. The idea that spirits have no emotions is one of the biggest lies, for emotion is what brings life to existence. The difference between us is this: we in spirit know that we have full control of our emotions because we know that our feelings are created by our beliefs, and thus we choose the beliefs that we prefer to have. This is something all of us need to remember, that we can choose the beliefs we have and therefore choose the experience we create and choose what we feel. I don't want you to ever worry about me feeling your pain, for I can always rise above it if I need or want to. But I want to be with you in everything you experience. I want to experience your joy as well as your suffering. It wasn't easy for me to do this in the beginning when I first passed, for I hadn't processed all of my guilt over my shoddy treatment of you. But now that we have healed our relationship, there is only joy and love flowing between us. Still, if you are hurting in any way, I draw closer to comfort you. And I welcome feeling what you feel, for I know whatever it is only temporary. The way to transcend grief is to connect in the present moment with me and let everyone know that. That is how they can transcend their grief, is to connect with the ones they love who are right here with them in the moment, in the now, because that's all you have is right now. So tell everyone to create new memories and traditions with us, for we are more alive now than when we were in a body. Nothing has changed except we no longer have that body. Just because you can't see us doesn't mean we are gone. We are only a thought away, and some of us are ever present. For partners and spouses in the spirit world can remain with their beloved ones here 24/7. Some partners made the agreement to do this before incarnating. Not many mediums understand this because they are holding on to outdated limiting beliefs and assumptions about the afterlife, a place, by the way, that few of them have really visited, so they're not all experts. Mediums like to say that life is for the living. But why shouldn't this include us, since we are more alive than any one of you in a body? We are limitless and can journey through all of existence. It's an individual's beliefs that will either open the door to us or keep the door closed shut. Reunion through the veil is truly just a matter of belief. Okay, that's it. That's really what is his main, you know, message to you, is that whether you have contact through the veil or not, it's going to come down to your belief. And if you want it and you have a limiting belief that it's not possible, then you just got to change that belief. And you might think, well, how do I do that? I mean, literally, it's just choose to choose a different belief. All right, I choose to believe at least as possible. Okay, maybe you're not convinced yet that you can, but you could certainly incrementally get there by saying, all right, I'm going to choose to believe it's possible. Choosing it's possible, as your belief, at least opens the door a crack, right? Just a bit, because you're saying, well, maybe it's possible. If you fully believe and know, get to a place of knowing, like I am, in a place of just knowing. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. Nobody could convince me otherwise. I don't care what anybody would say. Because I just know, then I have fuller access. And you can get to that place, but start where you can start, just by realizing that your beliefs are a choice you make. They're not leveled on you. You have swallowed it from somebody, from society, from your parents, whatever. But you can change that. But probably for some of you, nobody ever told you that. You just assumed that your beliefs were real, because beliefs are constructed to do that. Otherwise, you would just change them all the time. You wouldn't have any stable platform of beliefs to create your reality from. But once you understand that beliefs are changeable, that they're fluid, that you can evaluate them, switch them out, try different ones on for size, and therefore change your reality, then everything opens up. More people now than ever before understand that. Okay, so we wanted to drive home that point that your beliefs create your emotions, right? It's because notice, if you have no belief or opinion about something or someone, you don't have any feeling about them, right? You don't have any feeling. But okay, I don't want to get political, because I'm really not a political person. But if you just look at the race for the presidency, right? If you have a strong belief about one of the candidates, then you have a feeling about them. But some people, believe it or not, they don't have any feeling, because they don't know what they believe. They're like, I don't know. They don't have any belief or assumption about either one. And so they don't have any strong feeling. Alan says this is actually a good example, because the, like Trump is a very polarizing figure, right? And a lot of people either hate him or they love him. But again, I'm not saying which side I'm on with it. I'm just giving you an example that your belief about him is creating what you feel about him. Or similarly, maybe Harris, your feeling about her is coming from your belief about her, what you believe about her to be true. So you have a feeling response, but that's your choice. So if somebody gave you other information, you might choose a different belief, because okay, now I believe differently and I have a different feeling. Whereas if you had no belief about either one, like you're from another country, or Alan is laughing going, or you just landed here, you're from another planet, and you might say, well, I don't know. I don't have any feeling about either one of them, because I don't believe anything. I have no belief about the person. Okay. So your beliefs are creating your feeling, your emotional response. And I just want some of you to just sit with that. Okay, just sit with that. Like, what are your beliefs, and what emotions therefore are created from those beliefs? So again, grief is just a belief you're having, and grief doesn't have to govern you unless your belief is telling you that this is how it's going to be forevermore, that you're parted, you can't connect, they're gone, all that. Then you could grieve for the remainder of your life. And some people do, sadly. Okay. Now, if you believe death cannot end your relationship, right, but only change its form, then your grief, while it may not be completely gone, overnight, because your body is still grieving their loss, and that will take time. But the density of that grief could be lessened, because now you may at least believe it's possible. So it's lightening it up, right? And then if you make contact, whatever form it is, it may dissipate completely, to be replaced by this connection. But that happens in stages. It's not like and this is where I'm going to talk about What can you expect if you're pursuing a relationship through the veil? It's going to happen in stages. It's not like all at once. Just like anything in life that we're learning, you don't just master something and get there overnight. For some people, this awakening, if you will, to connect to the other side, because you do have to awaken and change your consciousness, that process could take months. Somebody else, it could take many years. It's going to be unique and different to everyone. Some of you are very rational and logical in your thinking. Those people usually will take the longest. Those of you who are more imaginative, creative, and you know who you are, if you're that kind of person, those people open up quick, generally speaking, because having a strong imagination and having more of an open belief in reality, right? Being more fluid, that would get there, you'll get there faster. It's just how it is. So, and that's what I've observed with clients and students. The people that take longer are very logical in their thinking, really rational, tend to be often highly educated or very intellectual in their thinking. Okay, they're analytical, they like to analyze. If that's you, and there can be exceptions, okay, but if that's you, it can take longer because you've got a lot of limiting beliefs and definitions that you've got to unpack and change. Okay, so if you're struggling, you've got to look at that, like what that is. We're not judging it. It's just it is what it is. It is what it is. I mean, I tend to be actually a rather intellectual person and not really that imaginative. I'm not. And yet if I can do this, that means anybody can do this, because I would have never have classified myself as being somebody's very dreamy or lived in her daydreamy and lived in her imagination. Quite the opposite. I'm rather a pragmatist and very down to earth. And yet I opened up to start hearing the spirit world. Why? Because I had no limiting belief. And I was open and I trusted. And I thought, well, this feels good. I'll go with it. So because of that, I didn't have any obstacle to hear the other side or hear, and now hear Alan. But although that took me a while to really be, completely accepting, probably because I had this strong logical mind. So my beliefs helped me to open up to the other side, and I had no fear. Okay, he's saying to me, also had no fear of the other side. Some of you have fear, and that's again a belief, right? So if you're afraid of what you can't see, you're afraid of the supernatural, maybe you were raised by parents who instilled a lot of fear with you, right? You're going to have to sift through that. You're going to have to dismantle those beliefs because those beliefs are going to create your reality. But you can change that. I've seen people change that and shift that fear of what they can't see. Okay, but you can't experience the other side if you've got this wall of fear. That just shuts down contact. I've seen it with clients that I work with when I guide people in our Bridge to Heaven sessions. One person, their fear of the other side was so great that despite their longing to connect and their loved one being so present, they couldn't get over the fear. So they couldn't reach out to their husband through the veil. Their fear just shut it down. And then she admitted to me that her mother used to instill her with fear, telling her that if she wasn't good, that there was some spirit that was, I don't know, under the bed or something crazy like that, that would get her. So, and she forgot about that until I was working with her. And then I said, well, until you clear that fear, you're not going to be able to connect with your husband, no matter even that he's standing right here saying, I want to talk to you. I'm here. Right. I said, you have to dismantle that fear. Fear is just a belief, like anything else. I believe it's not safe for me to connect with the other side. So that just shut it down. So you got to get rid of fear. You got to get rid of doubt. I always teach like not to have any expectation about how the contact will happen because that's limiting them. And you might miss the contact because you're saying, I want it to be this when they want it to be something else. So you got to look at what are your beliefs and also understand sometimes the grief you're feeling could be actually this transmission of love that they're sending you. But you, because of your limiting belief about grief and that feeling that they're dead, you're interpreting it as grief. Okay, because there's a fine line between having tears of joy, right? Tears of joy, ecstasy, joy. People cry from being happy, and feeling sadness, right? Think about it. People sometimes cry because they're so happy, right? Why is that? Because it really is a fine line. This intense emotion can actually be love that they're sending, but because you're just having the strong belief in their loss and the grief, and they're not here, your body, your emotion is misinterpreting it, and thinking, "Oh, this is grief," when really you're feeling just intense emotion, and you're feeling like they're not here when really they're right here. And I've seen that with people too, that their loved one is transmitting it so intensely that they just can't take it. They're crying, and then they feel, oh, he's gone. I said, they're broadcasting, like I'm feeling the loved one's love in the session, and I'm feeling it, this love, and then all they're feeling is interpreting it as grief. And they go, really? I go, yeah, they're sending you love. You got to change your belief about it to actually feel the love. And that's okay. In that case, that person just needs to keep processing their grief. Like Alan said to me, you need to grieve, you need to cry, and then you'll make room for feeling the love that I'm also sending you. So I would cry, 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 and then it would make room for the love, that I could feel the love come in. But some of you are just crying and not taking a moment to feel this love come in. And then you might be crying, and that's okay, right? They won't stop broadcasting the love, but it just means you got to process it more. You got to get that sadness out. You got to kind of start to look at this differently. Like maybe I can connect with my loved one, which brings in a ray of hope, right? And makes you lightens your grief a little bit. But then your doubt comes in, you're going to feel lost again. But remember, that doubt doesn't mean it's true. That's just your belief. Your belief, like maybe I can't do it. Well, you can do it. If other people are doing it, you can do it. It's your choice to believe in that or not. That's it. But if even one person has made contact through the veil, and at this point, I know of many, 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 many people, countless people, it means you can too. If you choose to believe, if you're ready to make that choice to believe, you can move forward with that. So now again, what to expect when continuing a relationship through the veil? Like I said, it's incremental. It's going to take time. You're going to have to start looking at your beliefs again, right? Because they're going to come up. This is what happens. Their love, of course, is on a different level now that they're on the other side. They loved you when they were here. Now they love you unconditionally. It's another higher octave of love, if you will. That love is going to bring up anything that doesn't match it. That is what spiritual energies do, right? It starts to bring to the surface any feelings you have, beliefs you have of, unworthiness, you're not good enough, maybe you have doubts, your insecurities. It's not unusual for people to wonder, is my loved one moving on because maybe they don't really love me, because they don't really value themselves. So if you don't really love yourself, you're going to wonder, well, maybe they'll find somebody better because you don't love yourself. If you loved yourself and saw yourself through their eyes, you would never doubt their love for you. If you have feelings of doubt that that you're wondering if they're going to move on, that means you lack self-esteem or self-love. So that's going to come to the surface. This is normal too. So understand, if you feel that way, it doesn't mean it's true. because you're wondering if they've moved on. It means this is you. You're kind of there, you're getting a mirror reflection of what you're feeling, not them. It's not them conveying to you, yeah, I've moved on and I found somebody else. Any negative thoughts you have to that is you, not them. Why would they move on? They don't have to move on. There's nowhere to go. Love never ends. Once you love somebody, that's it. That's forever, literally forever. You cannot stop loving somebody. Impossible. That's like saying, I'm going to stop existing. That's impossible too. So then how do you overcome limiting beliefs you might have that are hindering spirit contact? First is to examine them and look at it logically, and you'll start to see, wait, that's ridiculous. Like, of course I'm worthy of love, even if you're not sure. Like, they loved you and you know it was real, and so you're doubting it is doesn't make sense. It's just a reflection of your insecurity. So you start looking at that. You can start letting go of that limiting negative belief by just talking it through with yourself, right? Like, well, of course that makes no sense. Look at this and look at that, and also because some of you are experiencing contact through the veil, and you're experiencing their love. Like, people have asked me, well, how do I know they want to continue? And I said, well, because many of them, the loved one came through in a mediumship reading, or they're having signs, or they're having contact. So I said, you really think if they wanted you to move on, that they would give you any signs at all? Why would they? If they really wanted you to move on, it would be really easy for them to just close the door and just never make contact. They don't have to come through a medium. They don't have to give you a sign. They don't have to give you feelings of love. They don't have to appear in your room, because some people see that. They would just say, I'm fine. Goodbye. Like, if that's what they wanted to do, is just have you move on, they would just bring through that message, I'm fine, you should move on, goodbye, and be done with it. But they don't most of the time. They don't. And so why would they come back and come back to the medium again and again and again? And this is why I laugh when mediums tell their client who's come back maybe 10 times, oh, well, they want you to move on. And I guess they just want you to move, they're telling you to move on, but they want you to keep coming back to the medium, right? Like, that, does that make any sense? No. Like, they don't have to make contact at all. And I'm not saying that every spirit is going to want to continue. I'm just saying, if you're having any contact at all, to me, that means they want to connect with you. And if you don't have contact, it doesn't always mean they're not open to it. You got to be sure that you're even trying to make contact yourself, because this is what I've seen is usually the problem. People are being passive. They're passively waiting, like, okay, I'm waiting for them to make contact. Da 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 da. And they're not making time for it. They're not meditating. They're not channeling, like writing down messages from them. This is really easy to do. Their people have taught themselves to do it. You don't even have to take a class from me, although I teach it. You can do it yourself. People have done it, but they don't even take the time to do that. And if this is you, I'm talking to you. You haven't even lifted a finger, and then you wonder, how come they're not contacting me? In the beginning, it's really easy for them to make contact because they still have residual earth energy to do that. In time, they have to fully transition. Now it's up to you and me. Are we making time? Have we cleared our limiting beliefs? Are we noticing the subtle signs? Because usually spirit communication is subtle. It's not hit over your head. It's not a burning bush talking to you. It's not like that. Spirit communication, guides, angels, loved ones, is often very subtle. You got to pay attention. And Spirit's telling me most people are not paying attention. They're not. They're not looking for it. They think it should hit them over the head. It doesn't work that way, guys. Spirit is going to use kind of an economy of energy, like not always giving you a message in words, but like a fleeting vision in your mind, like a symbol or something, because that's easy for them. It takes a lot of energy once they fully transition for them to come through the veil and make more a visceral, discernible contact. They're doing that with some of the people in our academy because those people are evolving. They're working on themselves and they're practicing. That is the path forward. You got to commit to this. And most people, sadly, are not going to. I know that. Spirit already told me that. They said the majority of people are just not going to be in this for the long haul because it takes work. And I don't mean it takes a lot of work, because it doesn't. And now Alan's saying, he says, he's laughing, but he's serious. He goes, a lot of people are just lazy. They're just lazy. And we live in a time, we live in a society, if you will, that just wants everything instant, right? Like Instagram. like why can't I just find a YouTube video to deliver that to me in one go, right? Well, here we have 100 YouTube videos and you guys still need to apply yourselves because you have to shift your frequency, and it is definitely doable now more than ever before. But you got to do the work. You got to do it for you, right? You got to be in it. But you can get there. Okay. So notice what your limiting beliefs are and start to unravel them and realize, wait, I don't have to believe that. I can choose a different belief. Let me feel into a belief that would be more welcoming of the spirit world, and let me trust and believe whatever I'm experiencing. Okay, Alan's wanting me to point out the other challenge you folks have is you have been brainwashed into believing that your imagination is make believe and useless and just for children. All right? It is the complete opposite. Opposite. Imagination is your power to create your reality. You have to use it to communicate with the other side. There's no way around it. Imagination is the corridor, the doorway, the conduit, passageway between this realm, this earthly realm here, where you and I here on the vertical, right? Here, Earth, and the other side. They're a higher frequency, higher dimension. The only way to connect with them is through imagination. You cannot connect with them through your physical mind. Physical mind does not understand spirit world. It's only here to perceive this reality. It's a perceiver of reality. That's it. It just notices what's in front of it, what you're doing, what you're experiencing. It just notices it. That's it. Cannot guide you. It cannot really communicate with the other side. It'll observe what you're experiencing in your imagination, okay, but it's not the way to access your intuition or your higher self or your loved ones on the other side. So you need to get really comfortable with your imagination. You need to believe that your imagination is the power that you have as the creator of your reality. How do you think, Alan's saying, how do you think God creates? It's through imagining, through thinking, through thoughts, through envisioning and thinking. That's how you manifest, right? So you've got to stop disbelieving what drops in your imagination. When we say imagination, what comes in just out of the blue into your mind, drops into your thoughts, right? Or what all of a sudden you feel, whether it's physical or emotional. I can't tell you what it is that you're picking up on because it could be anything, anyone on the other side, including in your guides, including any loved one in spirit. But I can tell you that it's not you. It's not you. It's not your physical mind. Your physical mind is a perceiver. So your physical mind is here to calculate your taxes, how much tip you need to leave on your restaurant bill, those kind of tasks. That's it. That's it. Your imagination doesn't do that. Your imagination is how the other side drops in their messages, projects themselves, so you see them clairvoyantly through your imagination. That's why you can see them in your mind's eye. So never discount what just drops into your mind. Okay, unless you're sitting there chronically like overthinking, in which case, okay, it's your physical mind that is there in your mind, okay? But you know the difference. I know you know the difference between you obsessing in your logical thinking as opposed to imagination just dropping in a message or some insight. By the way, and that's how your higher self communicates to you too. It just gives you ideas out of the blue. Oh yeah, I could do that. I get ideas all the time, and I know it's not coming from my physical mind. I know it's coming from the higher mind, my higher self, same thing. Or it could be coming from Alan because he oftentimes gives me ideas, and I'll check and go, wait, did that come from you? He'll go, yep, that's from me. And if not, I know that's coming from my higher self, which is connected to my soul. So my higher self, my higher mind sees the bigger picture. It's completely psychic. It knows what I have planned for this life. It has the blueprint, right, of what I came here to accomplish that I can still amend and change. But it knows what is going to fulfill me. My logical mind is clueless. So that's why I teach all the time. Like, follow the guidance of your logical mind at your peril. This is how and why people make massive mistakes and get into big trouble because they're listening to the physical mind, not the higher mind. And that's why in the academy, you guys who are with us know, we're constantly helping you, teaching you to focus on the difference because your quality of life depends on it. You're here to balance physical mind with the higher mind, right? And to know the difference of who's like you're listening to. They're both to work together in partnership, in concert, and they can. Once you get that down, your life is just full of magic and miracles because you're not just letting your physical mind call the shots. The world is in the shape it's in because most people, that's what they're doing. They're letting the logical mind make their decisions, and then all hell breaks loose. Okay. Thankfully, there are some people who have learned to listen to their guidance, or they might call it their gut instinct, and they're making wiser choices that are guided. Guided, all right? The spirit world is always trying to help humanity. More people now are opening up to that and trusting their guidance. Guidance doesn't come, again, as a voice booming in your head or a burning bush talking to you. Only 3 times have I heard spirit talk like a voice outside of me because they don't do that because they don't want to be obtrusive. Because you're here to live your life in the flow, and it would be very disturbing if this booming voice were to talk to you. I know some of you would argue with me and say, well, I would rather have that booming voice, but no, that's not how you want to live. Trust me, you don't want to live that way. It's too disconcerting. Not when you can learn to trust your intuition and just know that I'm being guided in every moment. I'm just going to trust that positive impulse that I feel about things, and I'm going to go with it. And I haven't always gone with my positive impulses. Trust me, I haven't, but mostly I have. And when I have trusted it implicitly is when there've been miracles that occur. Okay. You can learn to do that. Anyone can learn to do that. And Lisa's saying here that this distinction between the physical mind and the imagination was key for me to realize that what I was experiencing was not make believe or wishful thinking. Yeah, it's not. What you're experiencing in your imagination is real, and this is how you can start to change your beliefs, right? By leaning into your imagination, and when you imagine, let's say, a loved one on the other side you want to connect with, what you're doing is it's not wishful thinking unless you're talking about the wish fulfilled, right? Don't we all want our wishes fulfilled? Well, this could lead to your wish fulfilled by your imagining that your loved one is there in front of you if you close your eyes. What you're doing here, I call it setting a scene, kind of opening the door again, because using your imagination to them saying, hey, I want to see you, right? So if you imagine your partner or a loved one, anybody in spirit, and you see them in your mind's eye, you're basically sending out an invitation, which they will happily respond to and join with you. Okay. So when you do that, you're letting them come in. This is how we meet them halfway in that corridor rather than hoping that they can have enough energy to come all the way in, which is kind of hard for most of them. Takes a lot of energy. This is how we help co-create the connection. You're not making it all up, I promise you, because then you'll start to have an experience and you go, oh my God, I feel this love, or I feel their presence, or they're giving me a message that's quite helpful, right? Or confirms that that's them. This is important. And very few people are talking about this. I don't hear a lot of mediums talking about this. Very few spiritual people talk about this. They do. I know there are people who do, but this needs to be really, like, I don't know, tattooed somewhere on everybody's heads that your imagination is your power. And certainly your imagination is how you're going to build your bridge to heaven, which is what we lead people in our bridge to heaven sessions. Al and I hold the space for you, create a stable platform, a space for you to connect. That from that point on, when you use what we teach you, you can connect with your loved one. But you got to practice. And here again, I see people learn what we teach them and they don't go back and practice it. And Alan says, yeah, because people are busy and people are generally lazy. And we're not, that's not a criticism. He says that's just the truth. It's so easy to become lazy in a busy world because it's like I got so much to do. But if this is important to you, you would make time for it. And even if you don't want to practice what we teach, the bridge to heaven, at least imagine that they're there with you and trust it. Trust it. Put all of your energy into it and enjoy it. Okay? And know that that's real. You remember this when you cross over. We're trying to get you to remember it now while you're still here. Because when you cross over, then you don't need it, right? It's like, okay, I'm here on the other side. Everything manifests like this that I imagine. Your thoughts are created. They become real. You're just not seeing it yet. There's a delay. But the more you vision it, the more you envision it, the more you envision that you see them, you see them, you see them, soon you are going to be living in that reality. Okay. And the only reason it doesn't happen instantly because most people have limiting beliefs that then take that apart. But if you stay focused and refuse to believe anything to the contrary, right? You kept saying, I see you, I see you, I see you, even if you're not sure you do. If you keep seeing, I see you, I feel happy because I'm choosing to believe, I see you here with me. The universe has to deliver that to you. It has no choice because your thoughts and then your statements, because saying it out loud is more powerful, by the way. When you say it out loud, it is manifested. Just do not think or say a thought that contradicts it. That's where a lot of people go off the rails. They will affirm the positive, but they're also still thinking negative thoughts. You got to get all your thoughts aligned and let go of the negative thinking and the doubt. You can do it. You can. Just as soon as it comes, any negative thought of doubt, think a thought that is positive, that affirms that you can do it, that you do see them. Even if part of you is going, I don't know if I do, that's okay. Because creation only hears what you're thinking, even if you don't believe it. You don't have to believe it 100%. You just have to think it. That's it. You think it, it manifests. You don't think it, doesn't manifest. So if you don't think the negative thought, it will never manifest. But if you do think the negative thought, it will. So get control of your thoughts. You want a relationship through the veil? There's only one way to it. It's that. Examine your beliefs, change them if you identify that they're limiting, right? They're limiting or negative, change them. You can. And affirm out loud, ideally, or at least internally to yourself, maybe even writing on paper over and over, right? What you're affirming to be true. And yeah, control your thoughts. Okay. Because thoughts create, that is the law of the universe that cannot be altered. It relates to you get back what you put out, if you think about it. Because thoughts is what you put out, right? You're putting out this thought, you get it back. That's why thoughts create. That's why your actions, right? Your actions is not really a thought, but you live in a physical world. So your actions, in a way, speak your intention. So if you're acting in a positive way, supportive way towards yourself and others, you get that back, right? But you always will get back exactly and only what you put out. So be careful what you're putting out. I don't want to, you're careful doesn't, I want to say that because that seems like negative, right? Be discerning and be, I hear a friend of mine used to use this term, be impeccable with your thoughts, right? Impeccable. Choose them with discernment. Value your thoughts, what you're saying, what you're thinking. Understand the power inherent in them and honor them. And then you won't be sloppy with your thinking. You won't just let these fearful negative thoughts just come to you or come out of your mouth, or you won't ponder them. You'll just let them go. And it may take time, but with practice, you'll be able to just be more singular in your thinking and let it go. Let the other negative stuff go. Like, oh, yeah, I don't believe that anymore. But you've got to be proactive with that, right? You got to take action with that. Like if you have that negative thought come in, you just counter it, say, and at least cancel it out. Okay, I had this negative thought, but then I thought a positive thought. Okay, zero sum. I zeroed it out. In time, you'll have less of the negative thoughts and you'll have more of the positive ones. And then your beliefs are more gently shift. Will shift in that direction. It will. It must. You're the one that creates your reality through the beliefs you have, and a belief is really a collection of thoughts. So once you master your thoughts, your reality has to match it again, because you get back what you give out. So I don't see what's happening in the chat. I know today we had a little struggle with everything, but I want to lastly leave you with the what I call the real cure for grief. This is really important. To me, this is only cure for grief. Just our opinion. Is to create new memories with them in the now. We touched on that in Alan's words. This is the path forward. The reason you look back at grief is because that's your last memory of them. And then you grieve because I don't have that anymore. You know, I'm not there anymore. And you don't feel them there because they're not there. They're right here. Here. Now is the only place, only time we have is now. Here, here, here. Only here, only now. That's all you ever have. This moment, it's gone now. Now we have this moment, now the next moment, right? It's only now. So when you go looking for them in the past, you're not going to feel them there because they've withdrawn their consciousness and they're here right now. And you've now separated from them. So you're focusing on the past. And because you believe that they're gone, that's giving you the grief. Well, you can in time, when you connect with them here, look back at the past like I do and just celebrate it and feel nostalgia and go, wasn't that a great time? I had such fun when we did that. And I don't shed a tear at all. But you're not there yet because You haven't created new memories now. So go out and do that. If it's a partner you're connecting with, schedule a date night. That might sound silly to some of you that are new to this, but that really works. Go for a drive in your car and talk to them. Talk to them all the time. Talk to them out loud if you live alone. Use any excuse to connect with them and create new memories in the now. Do what I just said a little bit ago. Imagine that they're there. Imagine they're with you, sitting there watching TV with you. I do that with Alan all the time. I feel him with me all the time, and he's talking to me through the movie, and sometimes I have to tell him to shut up. Like, don't spoil the ending of the movie for me, because he's so present. Okay. It didn't happen overnight. He just told me, keep talking to me, keep talking to me. And then it'll become like a normal thing. This is what you must do. Create new memories. Know that they're here. Believe that they're here. Imagine that they're here till you get there. You can do this. I know you can do it. Right? So creating the new memories is what's going to build your connection with them and then keep you focused here in the now. Alan was always saying to me, I'm right here, I'm right here, I'm right here. He was saying this to me to remind me that he is right here. Well, guess what? Your loved ones are probably saying the same thing to you, especially if have a partner or spouse on the other side that you're connecting to, because they're right there. Especially if you open to it and you wanted them with you, they're right here. So stop looking for them back there in the past, especially if it makes you sad. If you can look back in the past and you feel okay, then fine. But they're not there anymore because we as a spirit, we're only focused in the now. They don't want to go walking down memory lane with you and if it's going to make you cry. They will happily if you're going to feel nostalgia and you feel good about it, then fine. And a lot of times when they come through at our Bridge to Heaven sessions, they will, a lot of times, some of them will show like a travel log of memories of, remember when we went to this place and went to that place. And it's really funny because then they will. And then the person I'm working with will feel their love because the loved one is actually just saying, see, I remember all the time spent together, but hey, I'm here right now, because they want to practice connecting in the now. But that's probably the only time I've really seen spirit, deliberately directing attention to memories, because they are with them in a session when we're working with the client and they're just wanting to let them know that they haven't forgotten and that they treasured the memories that they made. At the same time, they want to connect in the present moment, because what's the point of going back in time? You can't really. And they want new memories in the now because they know that that's how you build the relationship in the now. You can't build a relationship with them in the present by focusing on the past. It doesn't make any sense. Alan says that's impossible. And we're always evolving, whether we're in a body or on the other side. So they're wanting to keep their evolution going, and they want you to keep yours going too. Okay. So right now, as we close out, I just want to take a moment. I know we went over and we were planning to anyway, but I want to take a moment to have you center yourself in your heart space. And if you're wanting to connect with someone on the other side, we're asking them to come in and be with you in whatever way is comfortable for you. You're the determining factor here. Okay. They don't want to upset you. They don't want to give you more than you can handle. So whatever way is easier for you, I'm asking them to come in and do what they can. And Alan's doing his best to help them project through the veil, because like I said, most, if not, many of them, most of them need help, at least in the beginning. So I want you to just close your eyes and use your power of your intention to expand your energy field to perceive whatever you can perceive, whether that is you feel anything physically or emotionally, or see something in your mind's eye, or hear something like somebody talking to you in your head or outside, or maybe even anything you might smell or taste, or whatever comes into your awareness, something you might just know something all of a sudden. So I want you to take a breath in. And if you're in agreement with this, just expand your energy. And then just be aware of what's around you, whatever comes to you spontaneously out of the blue. And I want you to trust and believe that that is someone on the other side. And if you want to, you can ask, like, who this is. You can say, who is this in your mind, right? So who is this? And trust what comes to you. You might just know who it is. You might just get a sense, an idea. Trust that. If your grandmother comes into your mind, for some reason, you go, okay, it must be your grandmother because she came into my mind. If it's somebody else, trust that that's them. If you don't get anything, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Come back and try this again with us at another time. Because I promise you, somebody else will be coming through. And if you believe you heard it was your grandmother, for example, you can ask, Grandma, is that you? Again, trust what you feel, the sense you get. Maybe you just know that's Grandma. Maybe you heard yes. Excuse me. Just trust it. So just take a moment to feel whatever you feel. And notice if you feel any energy in your body. If you feel tingles, pressure, hot, cold, a breeze, goosebumps, itchiness, pain even. They're not trying to hurt you, but sometimes the energy could be translated like that. Just trust whatever comes into your awareness. Take a deep breath in. Ask whoever it is on your side if they can make this stronger for you. Maybe they can, maybe not. Just trust whatever happens. Let go of your doubt, let go of any fear. Just be open and just experience whatever you experience. And if you would like to do this, you could ask for a message. Is there something you want me to know? And again, that message could be answered as an image in your mind, a symbol, a message, a feeling. And even if you don't believe you experience anything, receive any message, just relax with this and come back and try it again. For you have to be in a certain frequency range to perceive the other side. It doesn't have to be extraordinarily high, your frequency. You just have to at least be open and relaxed. And sometimes you're not. So give yourself a break here, right? Like cut yourself some slack and just try again and be open. Well, that's all that you need to do is have this willingness to explore this experience with them and just see what happens and just go with it. All right, so we've kept you long enough, right? We appreciate you hanging in here with us, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. If you haven't already, subscribe to our channel, please do so. Let us know what you think. If you have any comments or questions, post them below. And until next time, we want you to just remember that a belief can be changed, and grief is just a belief. Okay. I'm not saying not to grieve. Grieving is part of the journey, but no one has to live in that state of grief for the rest of their lives. You don't have to. Yeah, there is a way forward. And we believe that communication with them is the way forward. But you're free to believe whatever you choose, right? So lots of love. Until next time, take care.